Hello, and welcome to Continuing Education, a podcast for homeschooling families. I'm Heidi, and today we're going to be talking about getting started with the new school year. Whether you are a seasoned homeschooler and you've done this year after year, or this is your first year taking the dive into homeschooling, it can be a little overwhelming. It can be exciting. It can be uncertain to start a brand new school year. And I thought since we're kind of embarking upon a new homeschool year, it being August, whether you start in August or September, we're about the time where people are kind of starting their routine for the next school year. I thought it would be fun to take a moment and share with you my 3 best tips for having a successful homeschool year. I have been homeschooling for several years. My oldest is in high school now, and we started when he was in first grade. We did send him back to public school for a year midway. It didn't work out. We pulled him back out. My youngest, for a while, he was in public school because that's where he was thriving, but we've opted to pull him out as well for the last few years. And so I have experience with both public school and homeschool. And I just wanted to share with you some of the thoughts that I've had as I go into the next school year and what I wish I'd known sooner. I have 3 top tips that I think would benefit homeschooling families. The first one is please ease in to the school year. Take your time. Some of you have probably picked out your curriculum and had it picked out since February of last year. In your excitement, you've probably reviewed all the curriculums and chosen the most perfect one. You've set up your schedule. You have all your books and binders and folders, your schedule printed out neatly. Some of you may be starting August, September, and you still don't know what curriculum you have. That actually is a little bit me. I know some of my stuff, but not some other stuff because I just haven't quite found the perfect fit for some of the subjects that we're working with. So this is what you should know. Homeschoolers naturally are never behind. So there's never an artificial schedule that you need to adhere to. It's not like, oh, if we're not to a certain point by Christmas, we're really mucking things up and we need to, work our way through and go faster and do double time. That's not how homeschool works. You are at whatever pace you need to be working at. But more importantly, you should know, as someone who's had kids in public school, they spend the first week or two learning just routines. And what I mean by that is they learn the rules of the classroom. They learn, where do I put my binder when I'm done? Where do I get pencils? How do I use my scissors? How do I, sharpen my pencils? How do I make sure that I'm going to the right place at the right time? A lot of school is just the administration of it all and the managing of different schedules and different children. And so if everybody else is starting public school, know that you have a couple of weeks before they're actually doing schoolwork. The next thing to know about the public school experience, if you feel the need to compare yourself to them, and I do not recommend it, is that they spend a lot of time reviewing. Now, I adhere to more of a year-round schedule. I like to throw in some schoolwork in July when it's really, really hot. And this is for 2 reasons. One, they don't get the summer slides, so they don't lose things. But also, 2, because they're not losing things, we don't have to waste time on reviewing things, or our review period is much shorter. In public school, they're working with kids who are all levels. They're upper levels, lower levels. They spend the first couple of weeks assessing where their kids are, and then they review for quite a while. I actually had one teacher tell me that they spend the first 6 weeks reviewing everything they learned in the prior year. So if you have a kid who hasn't lost 6 weeks, all of that knowledge that you taught them last year, first of all, congratulate yourself because your child is awesome and you are awesome for teaching them. But 2, know that that means that you don't have to spend that much time reviewing everything. A lot of curriculums that you will choose will spiral on itself. And what that means is that even if it picks up in a different place than you left off last time, after, a few lessons, it'll come back to a skill that they've already retained in a prior grade. So you will always have the opportunity to reinforce a skill or master a subject that they may not have quite mastered previously. Don't worry. It's okay. You can take the time that you need and not feel like you have to jump into the school year real quick, real fast, and, be too eager to get everything done. So that's my first tip. Ease in, take your time, know that there is no one that you're comparing yourself to. And if you are comparing yourself anyway, even though I just told you not to, know that your assessment of what may be happening in the public school isn't quite there. They may be going to school, but that doesn't mean they're diving into new material. The second tip that I have for you is to communicate. I communicate with my kids all the time. in terms of how their schooling is going. And I've covered this in prior podcasts, but we talk a lot about how the curriculum is working for you. How do we want this school year to go? What kind of a schedule do you like? Do you prefer to learn in a video? Do you prefer to read the book? Do you prefer that mom covers the material? We talk about that a lot. So as you get into the school year and you're working on the curriculums that you probably worked so hard to find, take the time to communicate with your kiddos to see how it's going. Set yourself a cadence, maybe every month, check in with them and say, hey, we've been working this curriculum for a month now. How are you finding the lessons? How is the audio to the video? Can you understand what the professor is saying? How is the worksheets that you're giving? Do you feel like there's too much clutter on it? Is there too much white space? Are there enough pictures in this book? Are there not enough pictures? And like whatever it is that's relatable to how your kid learns, take the time to communicate them. And honestly, that is one of the best ways to know if you need to adjust something. Often your kids will give you feedback and they'll say, I'm not really progressing with this, or I'm not really thriving with this. And you'll know, you know what, even as painful it is that you spent $200 on a curriculum that by Christmas you need to ditch or you need to use in a different way, it's good that your kid knows now so you don't spend the next few months kind of waffling on a curriculum that if it isn't serving their needs. So communicate with your kiddos, see it as a learning experience for them, but also for you, and be flexible and willing to change when needed. My third tip is to outsource. I know a lot of homeschool parents are juggling multiple things, whether you have a lot of kids and you're juggling all different grade levels, you're juggling homeschooling with volunteering or a job or a side hustle. Maybe you're just there's a variety of things that you could be juggling. And when you need to, and you know what, actually, I take that back. Even if you're not juggling anything and all you're doing is homeschooling, and that's your sole focus, I have yet to meet a single homeschooling parent who is not overwhelmed at some point or feeling like they're failing. So this is my recommendation. Outsource when possible. This can be a struggle if you're on a single income or you don't quite make enough. Outsourcing for a lot of people means like, oh, I can bring in a house cleaner, or I can hire a tutor, or I can send my kids to a class, all of which costs money. I get that. If you're in a position where you can outsource like that, do it when you can, where you can, in the places that will make the biggest impact. For me, bringing in a house cleaner is more stress than it was worth. I did it for a year, but then I found that I needed to get the kids out of the house and I had needed to coordinate my husband's schedule, who's can also take the dog. And it became very stressful to outsource that task. So I no longer outsource that task, but I can find other things to outsource. If you're not in a position to pay someone to help you with certain things like cleaning your home or taking classes outside of the home, know that there are free options and you may need to be a little creative. My husband works from home. I do all the homeschool stuff, but this year I said I cannot do all the driving around because I work as well and I need time that I'm home. And so I outsourced to him some of my responsibilities, not the teaching or the choosing of curriculums or the planning, because I feel like I thrive with that step. But he is an excellent doer. He is a workhorse, if you will. And so when I say I need you to take a kid to a class or I need you to take them to practice, he's there, he puts it in his calendar and he's able to do that. It may also mean that you trade things with another family. So if you have other families, whether they're homeschooling families or just people that you know from church or from your community, is there an opportunity for you to watch the kids one day and them to watch the kids another day? And that gives you kind of a reprieve, and outsourcing some of the direct parenting activities on a day-to-day basis. You're getting a moment to focus on yourself, focus on your needs, take care of yourself. And as you kind of outsource where you can and push off some of the responsibility of being a homeschooling parent, you can start to make sure that you are never kind of burning both ends of the stick, that you will always be able to give 100% to your kids because you'll be fully present in the moments that matter. And that actually kind of leads me to a sub point on this is every homeschooling parent I have ever met has felt like a failure, whether they have homeschooled for decades or they are just starting. It is incredibly difficult to feel when you're in the day-to-day tasks, the mundaneness of all the homeschooling moments, to feel like you are thriving and you are successful and your kids are the smartest that they can ever be. No one ever feels like that. Know that it's okay, no matter where you are, give yourself grace. Because I promise you, as a parent who has felt many moments like I was failing, and now I'm kind of reflecting back on some of my years as a homeschooling parent, I did not do half bad. I have a kiddo who's got a good sense of humor, who can figure things out, who's really intelligent and has found his interests. And I see that as a total win. I've got another kiddo who's still working through some things. And because I have some of the perspective that I do, I can kind of take a step back and take a 30,000-foot picture and be like, okay, if things are going to be hard in the moments when they're hard, but when you come on the other end of it, you'll see what a fabulous job you did. You will see the level-headed, emotionally stable, intelligent kiddos who are able to go after their passions, and we're able to do that without trauma or lack of sleep or whatever it else that you're trying to protect your kiddo from in terms of the public school system. My kiddos are thriving in homeschool. That doesn't mean that every day is bliss. And I hope that you see that for yourself too, that it's okay that if every moment is not the best moment, it's okay that every day is not the best day. And it's okay if every week is not the best week. There may be times that you've had a whole month of really crappy moments. Know that those moments will pass, and it's okay to take movie days. It's okay to give yourself the grace that you require in order to kind of get through tough times. So those are my 3 top tips. Ease in, take your time, communicate with your kiddos, and outsource when possible to allow yourself the grace that you so duly deserve. Please let me know if you have any questions, if you have other topics that you'd like us to cover. Please hit us up at gamehackingmom.com or send me an email. Let me know your thoughts. We're eager to hear from you. Thanks so much. And until next time on Continuing Education.